breakfast presenter, Sian Williams, you were hearing there, who shared this sofa, well, not this exact one.
One very much like
one incarnation of the sofa. How long were you together?
11 years, actually. Long time, very long time. Bill and I were on weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, to start with. And that was when it was on the BBC News channel, at the weekends. And then it went on to BBC Two, and then it went on to BBC One. And then we were both main presenters on the big red sofa for a long time, yeah, 11 years together. And we'd gone back, actually, 30 years. We first met one another 30 years ago. I was a Radio 4 producer, and I was sent out to Arkansas in the States to cover the presidential campaign of Bill Clinton. And he was the Washington correspondent. So we were put together for the first time. Neither of us knew one another. And the very first evening, we were sitting having dinner in a restaurant, and I collapsed for some reason, call it jet lag, whatever. So the first night I spent with Bill Turnbull, that doesn't sound right, but was in ER, was in you know, an emergency.
Didn't he vow to keep that a secret?
He vowed to keep that a secret for 25 years, and he did, and he did. And he said on the way back, we were flying back to the UK, and he said, "It'd be great to work again. Do not pull another stunt like that." And I said, "Keep it a secret, would you?" And he said, "Yeah, I'll keep it a secret." And he didn't mention it. And I guess that was him, really. He was a very loyal friend and a very supportive friend. And when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, he was one of the first to reach out and say he was thinking of me and connected with me in that way. And then when he was diagnosed with prostate cancer, we did an interview together for the Radio Times where he talked really openly about having things going on in his body with his bones aching and not quite knowing what was going on and wishing that he had gone to see the doctor sooner. And being that honest about his cancer, it just meant so many people got themselves checked who wouldn't ordinarily.
Just had an email this morning.
It's amazing.
Yeah, just had an email this morning saying, "I've booked. I'm seeing the doctor today at 11 o'clock. A gentleman's just emailed him because he's still having that effect."
I don't think he was aware. And, you know, when we did that interview, he was saying, "Oh, I'm not sure about this, I'm not sure about it," because, you know, he was a private man. But what he did changed lives, saved lives. And I think, you know, that I know we've heard it this morning on this programme, which actually is such a lovely tribute. And we're all thinking of Ceci and the kids this morning. And I don't know whether you're watching, Ceci, because you know, this must be a very tough time for you, but from everybody who loved Bill, the viewers and his breakfast family and his friends, you know, we are thinking of you because it's such a difficult time for them. We all knew it was coming, and Bill and I texted a few weeks ago, but somehow, even if you know it's coming, you're not prepared, and it's like he's still here. It's like I can't quite believe that he's not here, and it's, as they say, it's like he's popped into another room, that he hasn't really gone.
Yeah, and Sian, I mean, it's funny you say that because a lot of the people who are in our ears this morning, our directors, the people who work on the show, are all people who, you know, work with him just like you did for years and years. And so everyone's doing that thing. And what you said about, of course, his family is spot on. And what we're trying to do this morning very much is to look at all parts of his life. Now, can I just ask you, you were talking about you'd kept in touch with him until very recently. And I was saying earlier on, I've had lots of people just stop me in the street sometimes and say, just how's Bill doing? You know, because he was so involved in people's lives just from being here every morning, that thing. And people wanted to know. No, I didn't know, especially most recently, how things were. You did have contact with him very recently, didn't you?
Yeah, but you know what? He was unfailingly positive the whole way through. So every time he talked about how he was, and typical of the man, actually, this is typical of Bill, he contacted me to offer condolences on the recent death of my father. So, and I said, "How are you?" And that's when he was speaking about having another round of chemotherapy, and he was hoping to go back on, you know, to Classic FM because he was great on that show, and I know that many listeners miss him hugely there. And there was always this you know, going for the next thing and going for the next thing. And he kept an optimism and a hope around him, which was inspiring. And there was an editor of this programme who we'll all remember, called Alison Ford, who died of cancer. And I remember her saying to us, "I don't want to die dying." And he said that's exactly what he thought. He didn't want to die dying. He wanted to celebrate life. He wanted to make the most of every little last bit of it and put all the sort of joy and fun and optimism and hope and laughter that we all knew of Bill. He wanted to put that into every moment of his life. You know, devoted to his family, devoted, as we've seen Mike saying, to Wycombe Wanderers, devoted to his bees. Now, Daddy Wallace saying he convinced him to get a dog. He convinced me to get a dog. You know, he had a very full life, which he was passionate about, and it was great to see that enthusiasm and that love for life, even in the most difficult of times. I think he was an extraordinary man, extraordinary legacy. He'll be loving all this, I tell you.
Oh, I don't. You know,
he put a programme about him.
Yeah, he always. You know, the great thing about Bill, I think, and you know, we all try to do it. It's the audience that matters.
Yeah.
He never ever forgot that the audience is key. No. What we do is we serve the audience. Yeah, we are facilitators of stories.
Yeah,
never the story.
We're custodians of this sofa
this great
for however
sofa.
long we're here. And actually, that was the thing about him, is that he was never starry. And you know what we've heard this morning is everybody saying you could walk up to him and he was like a friend, because he was the person you saw on the sofa, was the person that Bill was. He was very approachable, he was very warm, he was a brilliant journalist. Never forget that.
No.
An absolutely brilliant journalist. And yeah, very warm, and a commitment and a loyalty to the viewers. He never felt bigger than the programme. He was interested in what the viewers had to say, even when sometimes they were quite harsh, which, as we know, you
Happens.
can be. But you know, he was very respectful, I guess, and knew what a responsibility it was to sit here in the morning and to wake up with people, I guess.
That thing about, I've heard a few people mentioning it, and we all know it doing this job, is that thing about tone and the ability to sit down early in the morning in this place, and other people do it too elsewhere, and kind of just get it right. And he had the ability to do it almost always to get it right. And a lot of us, plenty of us have been there and kind of got it wrong, and you know it in yourself. Maybe you have to readjust. He had a knack and a skill of doing that, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, we used to call it the handbrake turn, or the face fall. You know, when you're talking about something, because the thing about breakfast is, of course, that we cover everything, don't we? And the sad and the happy and the funny and the serious. It's all together in more than 3 hours. But what that means is you've got to navigate quite a lot of difficult turns, and sometimes it felt like it could feel like a bit of a screeching turn over there when you go from a serious story to a funny story, or vice versa. And he used to call it the face fall as well, when you're talking about a funny story and then you realise the next story coming up is not so funny. You've got to tone your face down a little bit. But navigating those, you're right, navigating those turns are never easy. But you know, I think it's that's what life is, isn't it? I mean, it's just. It's complex and difficult and lots of stuff held together, and I think he was able to bring that. He was able to hold that together.
Can you explain?
The
this.
hands business.
The hands business.
Okay.
You did it all the time before you went on air, didn't you? This was your thing, because you do end up having a thing with your on a presenter partner.
Yeah, that was a thing. It seems ludicrous.
How on earth did that come about?
So I'd been told somewhere, or we've been told somewhere, that the great Andrew Marr, before this is if he's watching, he's probably saying, no, I never used to do that. Used to sort of just do this before he went on air, you know, just to sort of
limber up a bit.
Yeah, just to get himself ready. And I said, I think it could work for us, Billy. I think it could work for us. So we tried it, and so it went like that. And then every time we came on air, we'd hear the 15 countdown from the gallery, from the director upstairs, and we go 15, and then we'd have a little way like that together, and then we were off, you know, and it was an 8 o'clock coffee. We had our little routines. You know, he always bought me chocolate for my birthday. I always bought him a tie for his. You know, just phrases for, I don't know, if we were interviewing somebody, for example, and one of us had run out of things to say because the interview had extended a little too long, the key phrase was the other one saying, "What's next for you?"
Ah, the generic question.
The generic,
yes.
What's next for you? And that was the sort of key for somebody else to come in and ask another one to help the other out. And I think the key about a team is that you know each other's strengths and weaknesses, and you're there for one another. And we had each other's backs. And it was never, ever a competitive relationship. It was, you know, I mean, breakfast is a team. It's a team of people. It's very collaborative, and it only works if it is that. And I think I felt like he was a great person to be part of a team with. I mean, I loved it.
What's next for you, Sian?
You run out of things to say.
We're finished. It's the director, Tim. You know our director, Tim.
Oh, he's harsh.
He's telling us. He's
calmed
saying
down.
We would like to carry on talking. He's telling us.
Yeah,
now.
well,
it's just,
perhaps
that's
off
how it
air.
works.
Well, listen, thank you so much for inviting me back and to pay tribute to a man who I know, you know, people would be waking up this morning and will be really sad. But if we can remember all the lovely things about him.
That's what we're doing.
And the smiles he brought to people's faces and the legacy he leaves as well with people. And
yeah, well, that's something we're going to talk
cancer.
a lot more about. Lovely seeing you here.
And
thank you.
Thanks, Sian.
Thank you.